Flash in the Pan is the 11th video in the series, Why South Africa is Getting Poorer. You ever notice how light moves faster than wisdom? In the space of a scroll, a life can be reshaped. A million likes, one trending clip, a flash of someone else's silver watch reflected on a half-empty screen. We live in an age that prizes the instant fame, instant buys, instant validation. And nowhere is that hunger more visible than in our young people. Clever, hungry, brilliant, yet often nudged toward the glitter, not the groundwork. This is not a sermon against phones or a nostalgia for some softer past. It is a warning. When a nation's youth decide that the show of success matters more than the making of it, the bill comes due and the bill is heavy. Look at the numbers and let the figures do the unromantic work of truth. In the second quarter of 2025, nearly 2/3 of our youth were without work, a fracture in the social order that no hashtag can mend. The official unemployment rate for the country sits above 30%. For those aged 15 to 24, the joblessness figure climbs into the 60s. This is not mere statistic, it is a chorus of unplugged ambition. Fathers and mothers who see sons and daughters with potential and no pathway. Towns with talent and no industry. When young people lack real opportunities, the temptation to manufacture a veneer of success becomes not a luxury, but a strategy. Why does instant gratification matter economically? Because it misaligns incentives. Real wealth, the kind that sustains families across decades, is built by compounding small, prudent choices over time. Studying when others party, saving when others spend, learning when others perform. Flashy displays, financed by credit or borrowed clout, invert those incentives. They make consumption the measure of achievement and appearance the substitute for skill. Look around the marketplace. Buy now, pay later services grew fast here and across the world. In South Africa, the BNPL market expanded rapidly through 2021, 2024, and into 2025. It promises access. Wear the shoes now, pay in slices later. For some, BNPL is a helpful bridge. For many, it becomes a treadmill, pulses of temporary joy, followed by the steady chill of arrears and damaged credit. The easy route to looking successful often arrives as the slow death of financial credibility. And then there is social media, equal parts stage and teacher. Research across contexts, and in South Africa specifically, shows that interactive social media marketing meaningfully shapes young consumers' attitudes and behaviors. When your feed is an endless highlight reel, your reference point shifts. You don't compare your progress to your past self. You compare yourself to strangers with stylists and advertisers. The result is predictable. Impatience grows, investment shrinks, and a culture of immediacy crowds out the patience that real achievement requires. Imagine a young graduate in a township, brilliant, with an idea that could employ 10, maybe 50 people. But the dream requires time, training, a business plan, permitted space to trade, a supplier who trusts them, months of scrimping to buy equipment. Or they can buy a flashy phone, film a rehearsed lifestyle video, and gather enough likes to feel briefly seen. One route builds community capacity and durable income. The other builds a temporary profile that, unless converted, remains hollow. Which do we reward? Which do we model? There's another national cost we don't speak of enough: household balance sheets. South African household debt relative to income has been notable, rising and hovering at levels that make families vulnerable when a job is lost or a medical emergency arrives. Debt piled up on consumption is not an investment in future productivity. It is a claim against tomorrow's choices. When the culture valorizes visible status now, financial resilience, savings, emergency funds, retirement planning is neglected. When large swathes of a generation prefer instant esteem to delayed stability, national vulnerability compounds. What are the social consequences? First, brittle institutions. An economy dependent on short-term flares of consumption rather than steady growth is an economy that falters when sentiment falters. It's vulnerable to shocks, a tariff, a factory closure, a sudden interest rise. Second, human capital squandered. When a culture prizes celebrity over craft, fewer young people choose the quiet, difficult paths, engineering, teaching, nursing, farming, that underpin a functioning society. Third, inequality is worsened. For those already privileged, instant displays multiply advantage because access to credit, networks, and marketing magnifies reach. For the rest, the imitation of that lifestyle is financially ruinous. Let me be clear, the impulse to enjoy rewards early is human. Youth should taste life. But the question is proportion and priority. Do we celebrate those who create and persist, or those who simply perform? There is a difference between a carpenter who buys a nice watch after 20 years of diligent work and a young man who rents a luxury car for an afternoon just to be seen. Across South Africa, those who govern, teach, and parent must ask a hard question. What signals are we sending? Is our public discourse glorifying entrepreneurs who build industry, or influencers who sell the illusion of wealth? Are our schools equipping children with financial literacy and the patience muscle, the ability to delay small gratifications for greater later gains? If not, we are, in effect, allowing the moment to script the future. There is a bright side. Culture is malleable. Values can be taught, habits can be shaped, practical interventions can bend future outcomes. First, teach financial literacy early and often. Small programs in schools that model saving, compound interest, and budgeting pay enormous social dividends. When a child sees the power of compound returns, how a small monthly saving becomes large over years, the glamour of an instantaneous purchase can be countered by the clarity of long-term gain. Second, celebrate patient success. Media and public institutions should highlight stories of long apprenticeship, quiet entrepreneurship, teachers who built schools, nurses who rose through hard study. Give prestige back to the builders. Third, regulate credit responsibly. BNPL and microcredit can be tools of inclusion, but without safeguards they become traps. Policy must ensure transparent terms, limits on rollovers, and consumer protection tailored to young, inexperienced borrowers. Fourth, create real pathways to work. Apprenticeships, internships, small business grants that require matched savings and training. When young people have credible routes to stable careers, the incentive to fake success wanes. And here is what every parent, every teacher, every content creator, and every leader must know. Modeling beats preaching. Young people watch actions more than words. If we reward spectacle, they will imitate. If we reward craft, they will learn to build. If we lavish applause on overnight fame paid for by credit, we impoverish their future. If instead we honor persistence, delayed gratification, and investment in skill, we strengthen the economy and the soul. I am not calling for door austerity. I am calling for balance. Have the phone, but also have a plan. Post the picture, but also post the portfolio. Celebrate the acquisition, but also celebrate the years of learning behind it. Because a nation of instant gratifiers is a nation that forgets how to invest. Investment is the seed of productivity. Training, schools, factories, farms, infrastructure. When choice after choice favors the now over the later, the soil that should bear tomorrow's harvest is instead littered with yesterday's glitter. So here is the plea. Let us teach our children to measure success not by the number of followers, but by the number of lives made safer, the companies that create jobs, the ideas that endure. Let us make patience not a weakness, but a virtue to be emulated. Let us reform credit markets that profiteer on impulse. Let us make saving attractive and skill-building admired. If we do this, if a generation learns to trade a hashtag today for a sustainable business tomorrow, South Africa's future will stop being a question mark and start becoming a plan. Youth energy, when married to foresight, is an unstoppable force. But energy without direction is a fire that consumes what might have been a city. We can still choose. We can still teach. We can still revalue the long game. The flash will fade, but what we build, if built with patience and purpose, lasts. Let us teach a generation to prefer the making of wealth to the mirage of looking wealthy. Let us turn the scroll, look up, and begin the work that will feed not simply our feeds, but our future. Please like, share, leave your thoughts in the comments section, follow and subscribe, because together we can build a better South Africa.